Today on the Topping Show, Jerry Seinfeld roast woke Hollywood, says there's really nothing left to watch. He's not wrong. AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile to pay nearly $200 million for selling consumer data, including your GPS coordinates. Billion-dollar cannabis company is now bankrupt. A medical student got accepted with a 3.3 GPA, is bragging about it, and has the topic of DEI trending. California fast food minimum wage law continues to, well, spike prices and destroy jobs. Nancy Pelosi melts down on MSNBC, calling the host a Trump apologist, and Hertz continues to feel the hurts of having EVs, and they're continuing to sell their EV vehicles. All of that and much, much more on The Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile both being fined for selling consumer data. Now this was first brought to us thanks to Krebs on Security, one of the most popular, bar none, cybersecurity blogs. And yeah, it's not too great news for the big trifecta of the telecom industry. Now they specifically note that, quote, the fines mark the accumulation of more than a 4-year investigation into the actions of the major carriers. In February 2020, the FCC put all 4 wireless providers on notice that their practices of sharing access to consumer data were likely violating the law. The FCC said it found the carriers each sold access to its consumers' location information to aggregators who then resold access to the information to third-party location-based service providers. The FCC specifically said, quote, in doing so, each carrier attempted to offload its obligations to obtain customer consent onto downstream recipients of location information, which in many instances meant that no valid consumer consent was obtained. This initial failure was compounded when, after becoming aware that the safeguards were ineffective, the carriers continued to sell access to location-based information without taking reasonable measures to protect it from unauthorized access, unquote. A little cool graphic there for y'all. They also note that the FCC findings against AT&T, for example, show that AT&T sold consumer location data directly or indirectly to at least 88 third-party entities. The FCC found that Verizon sold access to consumer location data indirectly or directly 67 to third-party entities. Location data for Sprint customers found its way onto 86 third-party entities and to 75 third-parties in the case of the T-Mobile customers, which, spoiler alert, there's no such thing as Sprint anymore. They were bought out by T-Mobile. I think maybe the new legal entity is T-Mobile Sprint, but the T-Mobile is the branding that most of us are going to see going forward. Now, in terms of being actually the fiscal cost, they note that the FCC fined Sprint and T-Mobile $12 million and $80 million respectively. AT&T was fined more than $57 million, while Verizon was received with a $47 million penalty. So, not great news, but interesting enough, I almost don't consider it a business blunder because we just noted all the major carriers in the US and they're all doing it. So if you don't like it, what are your options? Not too many. You could try to move away and go to maybe a Cricket Wireless. Oh wait, no, spoiler, that's actually owned by AT&T. There's a lot of that going around. So I actually don't even think this is, I mean, obviously it's not good for the business, but in terms of being the business blunder of the day, not even a fraction of their overall revenue, really didn't affect their stock prices one iota. I mean, their stocks have been consistently kind of all trending about the same. I mean, what's the 6-month average? I mean, AT&T is still up 9.71%. In the past, it looks like earlier this week, the 5-day trend was down 0.21% on average. Well, granted, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, it might change a little bit, but this isn't the breaking news that's going to put them out of business, so to say. So, again, not great news for telecom industry. It's not great for consumers and their privacy, which is, I mean, short of getting a Faraday cage or getting rid of a smartphone altogether, not a lot of options for us, unfortunately. But let me know, are you kind of surprised that this was coming to the surface? I mean, kind of a little cliche. People used to say, "Oh yeah, your phone is always tracking you," and some people would laugh it off, be like, "Oh no, it's not doing that." Like people who think that Siri isn't always listening. And yet, when you're muted, you'll say, "Hey Siri." Oh, sorry if I just disturbed half the audience who have those little spy machines in their home. But if you say that, they'll give you a warning, like, "Oh yeah, you're muted. You have to unmute me first." It's like, wait a minute, how do you know I said something if I was truly muted? I don't really trust you, Alexa or Siri or whatever funny AI tools are out there today for the little personal assistants. But let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have one of the first billion-dollar cannabis companies is now subsequently bankrupt. Who could have saw that coming? Oh yeah, pretty much anyone with any rudimentary knowledge of cannabis or illicit drugs. Most people, I would argue, probably just going to make it themselves and break the law. At least on a federal level, I'm pretty sure everything's legal in regard to cannabis in California and like Oregon. And it's certainly helped with states. I mean, just look how they're thriving. Ha, that's a fun. It's a pun because yeah, there are a lot of people leaving, though that may not be the number one contributing factor. Point taken. Now, this is brought to us thanks to SF Gate, which is kind of ironic because California doesn't believe in walls or gates or anything. But nevertheless, was brought to us by that specific outlet. By Lester Black was the writer for this one. He said, quote, "California's Apple Store of Weed declares bankruptcy with $410 million in debt," which, if you say the least, and their store really does shockingly look like an Apple store. I mean, in terms of the architectural and the interior design, it's pretty spot on. If you're only tuning into the audio, I mean, the outside of the store is very minimalistic. It has the company name, which is, I guess, MedMen. I'm sorry, I think it's sued, not pejoratively being accused of being, sexist or something, but nevertheless, it has a big red, all the text is all red. You have the building that's painted red in the interior. You don't see a bunch of clutter or anything. It's very similar to the Apple Store. It's very clean. Not too bad in terms of, the aesthetics. Granted, I would never go there, but that's just me. Oh, let's see here. The touchscreen doesn't crash on me now. Let's see here. Now, they know that, Jesus, it had over $1 billion. They wants to pay the App Store. And it says, according to Law 60, it has filed for bankruptcy in Canada. Its California subsidiary has been placed into receivership in Los Angeles. Angeles, however you want to call it, funny place. They say that, quote, "The company's $1.6 billion valuation allowed MedMen's executives to spend lavishly, including purchasing luxury cars, expensive security details, and private jets." They say they opened up, as peak, they had 1,300 people working at the stores and employees. But by the time, 2020 came around, it was struggling to pay its bills, and its stock price dropped to, zero. Which, again, I can't but think, I don't know how, I mean, a lot of these people just grow their own product at home. And there's actually a couple pictures that show, yeah, it really did look like the Apple Store. Again, I'm not sure if that's what the consumers are wanting. And I'm pretty sure they probably charged Apple prices because, again, all those aesthetics, those desks look pretty fancy. The displays, it looks, as the youth might say, tight. I mean, even the display tables look like it's an Apple Store. But it's also not too surprising to see another California company go out of business. But yeah, again, everyone keeps clamoring for weed, saying it's a $1 billion idea, and a lot of these companies are going bankrupt. We'll see if they actually have long-term success. Let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have a medical student getting in with a 3.3 GPA, having the trend of DEI trending on social media. Now, this was brought to us actually thanks to End Wokeness and Wall Street Silver, which, I'm a little biased, but the older I get, the more of that cool hair. I mean, silver hair just is cool. It's gotta be, right? But partially digress. Now, this is on their X-Twitter profile, and Wall Street Silver is responding to End Wokeness. End Wokeness said, quote, 3.3 GPA, 5 Cs, accepted by 10 different medical schools. And then he says, quote, not happening. Now, Wall Street Silver responds, saying, quote, DEI in medical school admissions is going to result in people dying. And let's see here. And even more mentally vacuous, this student is bragging that they got in spite of their low grades. I don't know why you would brag to the world, I'm not this book smart. And again, I know there's not a direct correlation between school grades and the real success in the real world. Truth be told, I mean, I've met more millionaires and successful business owners who dropped out of high school and college. I think there's a small caveat for maybe medical school, maybe a lawyer, Those are probably one of the few examples where I think a college degree could be worth it. Now, let's see here. Now, this is the gal who's bragging. So this is her social media, and her text is literally, "You can't get in med school with 5 C's and a 3.3 GPA." Granted, it's only, what is it, 6 seconds long, so it's probably not too insufferable. Perhaps. We'll check it out here. I'm in the business of misery. Let's take it from the top. She's got in the business of misery. She's talking about inflicting pain on the patients because of her ineptitudes, perhaps? Is that why she chose that particular song? And yeah, she also says, accepted into 10, 6 MD, 4 D up. And currently in my 4th year. And she's bragging about this. It's on her social media. She put it out to the world. I don't think I would be bragging about that, would you? I think most people are probably maybe come to the consensus that you should have the same equal standards for everyone, regardless of where they come from or what they look like. I mean, that's quite literally the definition of equality. Now, went pretty viral, got 28,000 views, 11,000 likes on X Twitter, and is a good reminder to take the 1/10 or 1/100th of a second to like this video, or as the little banner pop-up should say. There we go. Well, there you go. Like, follow, and subscribe. And funny third thing, probably. Now, going down some of the top comments, you have Salty Goat saying, quote, "Wheels falling off planes, and now I have to look forward to a doctor with a C in biology. What could go wrong?" Unquote. Getting 451 likes. Jan Hams says, "I'm done with doctors. Short of breaking a leg, I'll treat myself." Getting 225 likes. Jerry says, quote, "DEI in the medical field is a very bad idea, extremely bad idea." Unquote. Getting 128 likes. Birkin says DEI equals didn't earn it, getting 125 likes. This is an interesting example of someone actually, hey, they fired their doctor. So Steph says, quote, "I just fired my endocrinologist. She was retiring and introduced me to her replacement. First thing I noticed were pronoun pins and other various political crap. Shook her hand, wished her well, and told her this would be our last visit," unquote. Getting 115 likes, which, yeah, if you go to the doctor, do you really, is pronouns a top topic? Am I out of the cultural norm or the cultural lexicon? Like, when you go to the doctor, is that one of the first things you want to bring up or talk about? I mean, if I were in the situation where I had to see a doctor, I'd probably want them to, help me get better. But maybe that's just me. Let's see. Entertain Me HQ says, quote, "Andrew Gold was a TV presenter on BBC. Then he was told to move behind camera because he was being replaced by someone from a minority background. He then quit and made his own podcast where he is debating this DEI with a woman who favors that. This is racism and discrimination," unquote. And it's only about 45 seconds, and truth be told, his voice is probably better than mine. And to his credit, he did partially suit up. I believe that's just a white t-shirt, but he has a little bit of a blazer. He's on his way. In all seriousness, he's probably, statistically speaking, he has more viewers and likes than me. Bar's kind of low, but still, full transparency.
Without
30 years ago, yes.
I mean, let's talk about. Well, no, you can't say that.
But I can because of the stats.
No, maybe they're just the best.
Wait.
I can't because of the stats. There's nothing ignorant people hate more than statistics.
Well, then I agree with you, and let's all scrap the policies then. Let's go
listen,
around to the audio production. Let's go to the TV. Scrap the policies.
But Andrew, you're being facetious now. But you say that from a place of privilege, because.
Well, hang on, but you're the Sky Sports presenter, and I'm not allowed to sign things in bookshops.
Well, but I've earned it.
We both earned it, but
right.
You got the job, and I didn't, and I had to do all this myself, and that's because of our skin colour. So, and yet you're calling me the privileged one.
I think it's very racist to assume that. It's extremely racist, and if there's one thing I can say on this podcast.
Not to be the fashion police, but is she wearing a sweater to an interview? Zip up? It's like she's going to the gym. That's just rude. That's just pathetic to say the least, don't you think? We're not a podcast, come on. But nevertheless, that did get 25 likes. And anecdotally speaking, in my experience in corporate America, I've had experiences where I've had friends lose out on jobs or been passed up for promotions because of company policies and HR policies that are in support of DEI initiatives. And a lot of that, I think, is risk mitigation of businesses because they're worried getting sued. In the United States, not really fair. It's disgusting that people are treated differently based on their skin. But in the United States, they know a lot of white people just won't sue. A lot of judges will just throw it out. it's kind of the old cliche of how they're allowed to make fun of religious people. Well, Christians and conservatives. You know that they don't file lawsuits, they don't protest as much, just kind of go along to the detriment. Let's see here. Renegade says, quote, about 250,000 people are killed by medical malpractice each year already. I'm getting 36 likes, which I wish they gave a link to the statistics because that sounds like that's a lot of people dying. I mean, it could absolutely be true, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they collected that data. Let's see here. Andy says, quote, she doesn't look Pacific Asian. For them, you need a GPA of 4.8, 1600 MCAT, speak 6 languages, play 4 instruments, and have volunteered 10,000 hours to compete against other Asians. Like, okay, 54 likes. Which, yeah, remember when Harvard was discriminating against Asian students? Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. And it got like 2 cycles in the news, or 2 news cycles over like a week or 2, then it died away. There's a being cultural in the news and people talking about it. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. Going down more and more. Critical Drinker says, quote, if I walk into a hospital and the doctor is black, I'm going to have to assume it's a DEI hire, and I shouldn't fault myself for walking out. Sucks for black people who actually earned it. Oh well, elections have consequences. I'm getting 77 likes, which is one of the biggest arguments against DEI, is that it's actually causing increased skepticism and racism, because now people are starting to think, well, did this person get the job because it was 100% merit? Or was it because of a DEI initiative where they lowered the standards because they wanted this person to be in this role? So I think it's backfiring in a major way. And that's one of the main reasons. We'll do 1 or 2 more. Memeology 101, although they responded in text only. So we'll say it's alleged memeologist. Says her patients are cooked. I'm getting 74 likes. Let's see. Oh, we finally have a contrarian statement? Finally. Houston, we have a problem, says, quote, do you know what they call a doctor who graduates last in their class? A doctor, unquote, getting 31 likes. And again, let's see if they got ratio. They got 3 responses. Let's see here. What's this? Nicotimbo? Someone who describes themselves as a nurturing, soul-inclined towards keen analysis. All right. They respond saying, exactly, and it's literally been that way forever. Every election season, it's new or recycled tool of division, and the plebs fall for it without ceasing. It would be funny if it were not pathetic, unquote. 0 likes, but that person did respond in support of the contrarian statement. Nina says DEI has been working well for Boeing, getting 12 likes. Let's see. What is this? Bilbo Baggins? Come a long way from the Shire. Star Trek joke. Kidding. It's Lord of the Rings, obviously. And he says, me in 2040 dying on the operating table because my doctor used ChatGPT to pass medical school. Got 104 likes. So mostly agreeing statements in terms of people critiquing this student who's bragging about having low test scores getting into medical school, which, again, I wouldn't be proud of having low test scores if I were that case. I would highlight the fact that you got in and maybe your new scores at your new school, but I think this will continue to be in the cultural lexicon for quite some time. It is election season, so it seems like a lot of these cultural issues brew to the surface, so to say. Although that being said, it's also the uniparty. You got a 50-50 shot left or right, most people aren't going to vote third party. And a lot of these are, it'll be interesting to see what the government does in terms of, under the law, you're supposed to, DEI, a lot of people are arguing it's technically illegal because you're quite literally treating people differently based on their race. Which, again, is not in the United States. You're supposed to treat everyone equally, regardless of what they look like or where they're from. But let me know in the comments. Do you think this will just be kind of blow over as a topic? We won't even be talking about this in 3 to 6 weeks. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Jerry Seinfeld roasting woke Hollywood as Elon retweets a recent interview. This obviously comes to us thanks to Elon over at X Twitter. And Elon says, quote, make comedy legal again. In his little 1-minute excerpt of Jerry Seinfeld from an interview. And his youth, I say, going viral, getting 53.3 million views in the first 24 hours. Well, actually, no, for 48. I wrote down these statistics a little earlier this week. and got 247,000 likes. And I already see our favorite contrarian leftist, in the responses. So we'll have a little bit of diversification, or we'll have nice sample size of opinions on the left and the right and some in the middle. Now, without further ado, go ahead and tune into Mr. Jerry.
It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. Now they're going to see stand-up comics because we are not policed by anyone. The audience polices us. We know when we're off track. We know instantly, and we adjust to it instantly. But when you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy.
Have you had that experience?
No.
Because isn't that what Curb is all about?
Yeah. Larry was grandfathered in. He's old enough that I don't have to observe those rules because I started before you made those rules.
Very true. A lot of people are also making the connection to other classics like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where, again, a lot of people are saying those things will never get remade again. Though that being said, you do have entities like Blaze Media as well as the Daily Wire, which are putting out comedies that would, I'd say, be on par with those in terms of being quote-unquote non-PC. And again, what viral, getting 53.3 million views and 247,000 likes, which is a great reminder to take the 1/10 of a second to click the like button for this video. Or downvote and give me a comment, let me know how I can do better. Now, one of our first comments comes from Luke Zaleski, our favorite leftist. Well, not really favorite, but appreciate different perspectives because life can get pretty boring in echo chamber. Now, Luke says, quote, "There's nothing anyone can do or can say or do to confront this level of gaslighting. Nothing. That's the loop we're in. The gaslighting paradox of pretending Elon is the savior of free speech and journalism and the victim of malign woke forces on his own personal social media platform," unquote. Mostly mentally vacuous, it is Luke, but nevertheless, he did get 447 people who agreed with him and that liked his post. Coming from a man who doesn't even suit up for a profile picture. He's wearing a V-neck. I can only imagine a V-neck is appropriate if you're on if you're married and it's like date night at home. So it's a home date night. The public doesn't see you. And you're at home, and that I could think might be appropriate. Again, you've been married for years before she sees you in that, and it's obviously it's very casual. In that scenario, I could see that being appropriate. I mean, we always know true men always suit up. We always look best. Now, interesting enough, 33 people did respond to Luke. One of the first comments comes from, let's see here. Randy Vittori says, quote, "He literally posted an audio clip of Jerry Seinfeld, one of the all-time greatest comedy greats, telling you how bad it really is, and you completely ignore it and scream that Elon is gaslighting. The reality here is that you're the one gaslighting everyone, getting 3 likes. So it doesn't look like a lot of people are in the comments are responding positively to Luke. And I mean, just turning on the TV or realistically watching a streaming show these days, I don't think a lot of people would disagree with the fact that content is just, in general, becoming more and more PC, bland, and boring. I mean, just like at Disney, they're losing billions of dollars on the movies because there's... I don't want to say the writing is terrible, but the writing is akin to monkeys using a typewriter, which there's a theory that if you had like 100 monkeys for 100 years typing a typewriter, they'd eventually, write Shakespearean novels. I don't know how they actually test that, but nevertheless, you have other folks like Sassafras84 saying, quote, "Yes, let's bring back comedy." And it says, "This is what you look like when you have a black belt and being offended." It is a white gal with short rainbow-colored hair, glasses that are circles, almost look like spectacles from like a Harry Potter film or something. Although, I want to fact check, she does not have 28 pieces of jewelry pinched onto her lips and nose, or piercings more accurately. Which, I don't know. I've lost track of how many women I've seen with the little cow ring in the middle. I don't know who's telling women that's attractive. It's not. And yet you see it more and more in modern society. Let me know in the comments, where did that trend start? Who's lying to these women saying it's attractive? That's beyond me. Now, that did get 1.2 thousand likes. You have Culture War saying, quote, "Comedy has become reality." It says in the 1990s, you got Jim Carrey dressed up as a gal. In 2020s, you have that mentally vacuous, how do I not get banned on YouTube? Well, I'm on Rumble too. So we have that gentleman that threw on a women's swimming suit. What is that guy's name? and he competed in women's swimming and won gold medals, beating out Riley Gaines. Because, of course, he was the 437th best male swimmer, and then in the female category became number 1, changing in the locker room in front of girls. Yeah. Then you also have another comedy duo. You got Korean John Pierre as the parody, gained 1.1 thousand likes. Let's see. Tess Rest also says, I bet the woke couldn't handle a simple sitcom with such as Married with Children. I miss the good old days. And you have a picture of the OG Iowan, John Wayne, saying, quote, the older generations have a lot of things, but at least we weren't offended at pancake syrup, unquote. Getting 1.1 thousand likes. Plenty of memes, because an A+, they responded with a meme today. They say absolutely. It says, here's to the good old days where we could just make fun of each other without getting their panties in a bunch. Getting 1.5 thousand likes. Anonymous says, quote, once again, Elon pushing conspiracy theories on the platform that he bought. At this point, he's probably a national security threat, since he'll be using this platform to affect results of the 2044 election. A contrarian statement. We found one. It got 1.4 thousand likes. Which is hilarious that there's so many people who hate free speech. Of all the platforms on social media, and by far X Twitter is the best in terms of not being censoring a lot of folks. But even it's not perfect. And it is funny to see all these people complaining, and yet Elon's not censoring this person yet. Let's see someone who responded saying, Sven Kurtz responded to that guy saying, quote, how is this a conspiracy theory? Is there anything more suffocating to humor and art than forced diversity? Are we all in pursuit of uniformity and mediocrity? No sharp edges? Isn't everyone using this platform to influence people? WRT 2024? I thought you were protecting us from nefarious entities that threaten us, like corporations, military industrial complex, captured government oversight, illegal surveillance and censorship. What's going on? Or are you just about placing prominent individuals that voice opinions outside of accepted groupthink, unquote. Getting 23 likes. And a Michael Scott gif of him saying bingo. Let's see. A couple of clips of George Carlin. Let's see. Do one or two more here. Ryan Sheed says, quote, I love how you have nothing. Let's see. I love how you do nothing on this platform but push conspiracy theories and right-wing talking points. I wish we could deport your rear back to Canada or South Africa. You're a national security threat and overall piece of garbage, unquote. Getting 1.4 thousand likes. Wow. Another contrarian statement, to say the least. Someone really doesn't like the fact that Elon gives people free speech. Ryan Sheed is known for, he's a veteran, really. Interesting. Love how nothing conspiracy theories. Usually those folks are more about freedom than not. He has 101,000 followers, including Mark Hamill. Kind of shows you what he's all about. Let's see. Interesting fellow. Nice way of saying weird. Yeah, Sherry saying, quote, every time I get pissed off that the government is wasting money I pay in taxes, I think of Elon Musk. He pays $11 billion a year. Imagine how it feels. And even then, our government can't make a profit. We're still running up the debt. It's insane. Elon paid $11 billion in taxes. How disgusting is that? When Abraham Lincoln first introduced the income tax on the federal level, it was 3%. 3%. And now we're paying 40%. If your state has an income tax, that's another 10, 12, 13%. And of course, if you want to buy something, that's the 8.25% sales tax. You got property tax, gas tax, liquor tax, tobacco tax, telecom tax, water tax. It's kind of depressing if Americans are really proficient at math. If they were write down of every dollar we earn, how much is really ours at the end of the day, they'd be pretty depressed. But ADHD tangent aside, let's see. Elon Musk parody account says X makes comedy legal again. It's a picture of Biden wearing khaki pants and says, America, take 50% off your entire worth. Banana Republican, 917 likes. Here. They're against. Blake says they are against memes. Is a picture of NPR saying, how far right groups use memes to radicalize people. Got 174 likes. Looks like overall, a couple contrarian statements against Elon. Let's see. 330 likes. What's this? It is from Sure Majesty. He says Joe Biden would be mad if he saw his posts, and it says I should not be president. Change my diaper. Got 330 likes. So a couple contrarian statements. A couple folks who are really irate that Elon gives people a platform to actually allow them to have an ability to have free speech. Fascinatingly enough, I can't help but notice on YouTube if you mention certain topics, your views just crash to nothing. And statistically speaking, more than 3 people should see this, and yet. I mean, earlier this week, some of those videos are getting like 2 to 3 views. Granted, I know it's a competitive market, but I mean, 2 to 3? That's mathematically improbable. Like, even if someone hates the show, even they tune in and watch a couple of minutes. Which is another friendly reminder to share it with your friends, even if they don't like it. You never know. Maybe we'll win them over, kill them with kindness, so to say. Going over to the political part podcast, you have California minimum wage law continues to wreak havoc, specifically now at McDonald's and Chipotle. Now, this is one of a long list of things that California has done to destroy their own economy and make life even worse for the people living there. It's a tall order. I mean, they somehow continually find ways to make it more and more miserable. It's almost impressive to have that many ineptitudes, or be that evil, depending on your perspective. Now, this is coming after they increased the minimum wage law by 25%, going from $16 minimum wage per hour to $20. And kind of dark humor, they initiated the law April 1st. So I would argue it's a cruel joke against business owners and franchise owners, since, again, McDonald's makes their money from real estate. Most of the stores are all owned by independent owner-operators or someone who starts a small business, and let's say they own a couple of franchise stores. Now, this is, a lot of people on LinkedIn are irate. This is by Jessica Hartogs, editor at LinkedIn News. And all the business gurus on LinkedIn, when this news first broke out, like, oh no, the company will just absorb the cost. It totally won't result in jobs being lost or prices being jacked up. Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, they're wrong, of course. Because, interestingly enough, there are a lot of Marxists and communists on LinkedIn. And a lot of people with not any business acumen at all or common sense. Because, again, if you increase the cost of goods sold, well, the cost of labor by 25%, yeah, you're going to have to increase the price. You're going to have to cut down on employee hours. You're going to cut down on the number of employees they're hiring. I mean, it's almost as if they can't do basic math. But nevertheless, now they say, quote, fast food prices in California have risen at a faster pace in the last 7 months than any other state, increasing 10% overall, unquote. Oh, who would have thought it? Quote, since California pushed last September for large fast food chains to hike up their minimum hourly pay to $20 an hour by April, prices at places like Chipotle and McDonald's have steadily climbing. The minimum wage for fast food workers is a 25% increase from the state's $16 minimum per hour. Proponents of the law say it provides workers with a fairer living wage, unquote. The surest sign of a Marxist, a living wage. And there's so many people who make the argument that they should be able to raise a family of 4 on McDonald's wage, which, no. Absolutely not. First of all, the free market is the best mechanism since the dawn of time in terms of building wealth for everyone. And also, it's not feasible. Fast food is supposed to be cheap, convenient, and fast. You could argue those two are very similar. And yet, because of many of these laws, it's not. Also, increasing the minimum wage, I also find it morally vacuous because you're robbing someone an opportunity. If someone has a skill set of only being able to produce $6 an hour in productivity to a business, that means realistically you can only pay them $3 an hour in order to make a profit. Because again, you have to deal with BS like payroll taxes and all the other overhead associated with the person and the business and the entity. So if they don't have that skill set, the business can't hire them. You're removing them artificially from the labor pool. You're literally removing the bottom rung of the corporate ladder. And there are people who start up McDonald's and can progress it through a career. Some people use it as a simple summer job or high school job. But I know people who they start off as a chef and they work themselves up to a corporate job. That happens. And yet, these opportunities are just being stolen left and right. So it's not too surprising to see the prices continue to be jacked up completely. I mean, the dollar menu, that's just how many people remember that? Those days are long gone. And unfortunately, I don't see these laws they're ever getting reversed. You know, that's what that's what we really need in terms of deregulation and boosting the economy and fixing the myriad of ineptitudes of the government. I don't see this law getting pushed back in terms of allowing the free market to actually play out. And it also hurts startups. I mean, there's a lot of ripple effects from this that people don't think about. And people are just thinking, oh yeah, if you just pay people more, they'll be happier and everything will be better. Other things won't increase in cost, yet it always does. Let me know in the comments. If you have a use case or a study, I'd be fascinated. I will actually legitimately read it and examine it. If you can give me some examples of where increasing the minimum wage has led to more jobs overall. I mean, let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Nancy Pelosi melting down on MSNBC, calling the host a Trump apologist, which shows how mentally vacuous she is. They're one of the most left news outlets out there, and yet she's breaking down, calling them, oh yeah, you must be a Trump apologist. Yeah, maybe she is as wise as she is beautiful, I'll tell her that much. And in terms of her acumen for the stock market, I mean, she's so smart in the stock market, she's better than Warren Buffett in terms of making money in the stock market. Totally not because she's corrupt and, buys stocks before enacting laws that, affect those industries. Totally not that. But nevertheless, go ahead and dive in. Helps us thanks to Benny Johnson over at X Twitter. And he says, quote, Pelosi is shocked that an MSNBC host would dare call her out and brand her as a Trump apologist for doing so. See here.
And Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million.
Interesting flag she has on her lapel. I'm actually shocked. She does have an American flag on her lapel. Of course, it's the one where you have two flags crossed. So, of course, it's the United States flag as well as the Ukrainian flag.
Jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And
I
he
don't
has
think
the
that
worst.
anybody can accuse me of that.
Joe.
Delusional, Pelosi. Delusional. I got 615,000 views and 17,000 likes. One of the first responses coming from the Blame Soros, America Last Get Used to It, says, quote, who's the MSNBC host? I don't know why they had anyone on there with the guts to speak the truth. Here's a chart Nancy Pelosi should read about what COVID did to jobs. The pandemic that Fauci created and China released, they were bouncing back long before Biden did. Looks like here's a little chart here. It says chart 2. Non-farm payroll employment seasonally adjusted May 2019 to May 2022. And you see that trend right there. Got 130 likes. Not Sumo High says, quote, Pelosi has set a new record lying so badly, even MSNBC has to point it out. Getting 747 likes. See, Vince Langman says, quote, she hasn't been this upset since she found out her husband bought a crazy guy from a crazy gay guy from a bar to her house, getting 336 likes. Kenzie Marie says, quote, drink up Nancy. It says, orange man bad, wall bad. Now where's my cocktail? Got 318 likes and her eyes are cross-eyed. See. Francis Bowie says, quote, let's set the story straight. And has a little infographic chart comparing Biden to Trump. Under Trump, there's 1.4% inflation. Gas was $2.31 per share. Under Biden, inflation was 8.3%. Gas is $3.91 per gallon. Mortgage rate was 3.25 under Trump. Mortgage rates on average, I guess, is 6.5 under Biden. Border was secured under Trump, open under Biden. Crime was low under Trump, high under Biden. War was no under Trump. War was yes under Biden. Vaccination was voluntary under Trump, forced under Biden. Get 100 likes. See here. The Ace says, quote, a single minuscule pushback and immediately shaming, guilt tripping, and gaslighting. Frauds, liars, and cheaters all use these manipulation tactics. It's widespread in America today. Wake up getting 65 likes. An ad, I keep seeing it all the time. Esquerda.net says, quote, original shirt from Amazon. It's Kid Rock holding a shirt. Wow, it's probably Photoshop. It Says Biden's greatest accomplishment is showing American people how great Trump was. Getting 85 likes. Let's see. Mate says, quote, how can she say that with a straight face? Oh, I noticed all the injections. Getting 46 likes. Let's see. Nico says, quote, you can actually see the shock on her face. It's like no one ever actually challenges or pushes back on her. Getting 38 likes. There we go. Got Linster mom says Nancy hearing the truth and instantly melts since the witch from the Wizard of Oz saying I'm melting. Old GIF there. Getting 19 likes. Brian Piotr says MSNBC host, you can come to the MAGA side. Getting 91 likes. Let's see. Someone saying Nancy trying to speak and it's a girl trying to find a straw and looks like she's drunk. Got 60 likes. Here's a nice little story from Karen2448. Says Nancy Pelosi's husband buys land with federal grants for high-speed rail system from Sacramento to San Diego. Land he couldn't buy was stolen via eminent domain. Pelosi's husband sells the land purchased with federal funds to Dianne Feinstein's husband, who got the federal grant funds to purchase the land from Pelosi's husband. He then sells the land to the actual developer of the high-speed rail system, who purchased it with federal grants. The people of California and the United States purchased the land 3 times, making millions of dollars for both Pelosi and Feinstein families, unquote. Gained 34 likes. Which, yeah, I'd have to look into that story, but actually confirm it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, let's just say that much. Let's see. Here's a good info, a little comic strip. It says, how the middle became the right. And a guy standing in the middle on the line, and you got left and right. And he says, both sides make some good points. And the blue character pushes them over to the right side. The right side says, you all right? He says, yeah. And the blue guy says, why are you siding with the bad guys, unquote. Got 61 likes. So, not a lot of contrarian statements, to say the least, or not a lot of people supporting her. Well, let's see here. Oh, that's a nice picture of Nancy Pelosi getting a manicure. Getting 40 likes. And it's like some type of monster. Maybe a horror movie. Which, granted, any movie she would be in would be kind of default to be considered a horror movie. But, yeah, I think I don't think we'll ever see the mainstream media kind of pivot to the middle again or have the pendulum swing too much. I think that reporter on MSNBC is definitely an outlier. Maybe she got talking to after that show. But, yeah, you can just tell Pelosi did not see that coming. She's just used to steamrolling every interview, never having pushback. And, politically speaking, doesn't make her look good, but again, I don't know how much she cares these days. California's been blue for longer than I can remember. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'd be always, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Hertz still feeling the Hertz about their EVs. Pun obviously intended. Now, this was brought to us thanks to InsideEVs.com, which, I mean, that's probably one of the most accurate domains ever. You know exactly what they're all about. And they, interestingly enough, trying to pull up the specific author to give them a shout out here. And yet, let's see here. I'm not seeing it. Oh, here we go. Patrick George. So Patrick George says, quote, Hertz to sell off even more EVs as depreciation losses mount. So they're saying, oh yeah, but you can buy this now. Keep in mind, it's not going to last long. And yeah, that battery's going to cost more than, I was about to say a house. A house in Detroit. Not saying much, but still pretty penny. Now, Patrick says, quote, the whole plan, it must be said, had the best of intentions. Famous quote. It says, America rental giant Hertz saw the way the car market was moving, decided to invest in building the largest EV fleet rental in North America in 2021. That meant buying hundreds of thousands of EVs from Tesla, GM, Kia, Polestar, Volvo, and more. And they even got Tom Brady involved, which is probably one of the most cringeworthy ads I've seen in a while, where Tom Brady claims he likes renting EVs from Hertz. Spoiler alert, someone like Tom Brady, I can't conceivably think of a situation where that would be a part of his life, would be renting a car from Hertz. I can't see that happening. Nevertheless, I'm sure a lot of people love sports balls. They'll worship him and they'll say, I'm going to go rent a car just because Tom Brady's in a commercial. He's a smart guy. He did a commercial for FTX. Oh, wait. Yeah, that was another business blunder. Patrick continues to say, quote, unfortunately, a complicated confluence of events, including rapid-fire EV prices in 2023, led to a massive depreciation and high repair cost, unquote. Yet another reason I don't like EVs. You basically have one person that can repair it, the original manufacturer. You can't have mom and pop or your independent mechanic work on your vehicle. Like a smartphone, you're pretty much locked in. And even more detrimental with EVs, like Tesla, they've become notorious for actually kneecapping features and disabling things if you actually do attempt to have a third party try to fix it. Now, they also note that Hertz, quote, Hertz has endured massive losses, saw its CEO step down recently in the past couple of months, as they continue to offload the sales of their EVs. Looks like they're going to try to sell 10,000 units, aiming for a goal of 30,000 EVs sold in 2024, and also admitted how much has been stung by depreciation. The company incurred a $195 million charge to depreciation of the vehicles to write down. Ouch. Hertz officials said it added that depreciation costs were up to $339 per vehicle now, and that of the $339 per unit increase, 119 was related to the EVs held for sale. So they're not doing too great. And again, consumers are starting to push back. I mean, one of the biggest growing categories in terms of vehicles in the United States these days is hybrids. Like, granted, you're still stuck with a dead battery after a couple of years, you have to replace for thousands of dollars. But more and more people are starting to be open to that idea, and they like it, which, I mean, conceivably, if you lease a vehicle, to me, that's where, fiscally speaking, you might be able to justify an EV or perhaps a hybrid, because you're not left with that big dead battery that, again, is prohibitively expensive. And if you're leasing, you don't care about, you can't have your friend or, a local shop work on it because it's a lease. So I can understand that being a little more the logic track of that. Yeah, but in terms of buying an EV for daily use, I mean, personally, I always drive something with 3 pedals and also knows manual transmission and internal combustion engine. It's the most fun you'll have driving, bar none. But nevertheless, having Hertz continue to sell more vehicles, losing more and more money on that big business blunder initiative, that certainly is the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So again, if you could click that like, subscribe, and follow button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, giving a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight,